there comes a moment when you have to ask yourself a very simple question. Who is controlling your attention? Is it you or is it everyone around you? Because if every opinion can change your mood, if every message can interrupt your peace, if every person can pull you away from what matters, then you are not truly directing your life. You are reacting to it. And reaction is one of the greatest thieves of human potential. You wake up with a goal in your mind, but then someone says something you do not like. Your attention shifts. You begin working on something important, but a notification appears. Your attention shifts. You finally decide to improve yourself, to become more disciplined, more focused, more peaceful, and then someone brings unnecessary drama into your life. Again, your attention shifts. And slowly, without even noticing it, you spend your entire day responding to things that were never part of your purpose. This is how distraction works. It does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes distraction comes as a conversation you do not need to have. Sometimes it comes as an argument you feel you must win. Sometimes it comes as the need to explain yourself to people who have already decided what they want to believe about you. And sometimes the greatest distraction is your own mind constantly searching for something outside yourself to react to. You cannot control what people say. You cannot control what people think. You cannot control whether someone misunderstands you. You cannot control whether someone approves of your choices. But you can control where you place your attention. And that is where your power begins. The person who learns to protect their attention becomes difficult to manipulate. They do not need to answer every question. They do not need to defend every decision. They do not need to chase every person. They do not need to react to every situation. They have learned something simple but powerful. Not everything deserves your energy. Your mind is your territory. Protect it, because when you allow everyone to enter your mind whenever they want, you slowly lose the ability to hear your own thoughts. So today, stop asking how to make everyone around you behave differently. Ask yourself instead, can I remain focused when people try to distract me? Can I remain calm when someone provokes me? Can I continue walking toward my purpose when nobody understands why I am walking that direction? Because real focus is not built when everything is quiet. Real focus is built when the world becomes noisy and you still remember what matters. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you possess. Yet most people give it away without realizing it. They wake up and immediately check their phone. They read messages, watch other people's lives, listen to opinions, compare themselves, react to comments, and absorb problems that have nothing to do with their own purpose. Before the day has even begun, their mind is already somewhere else. This is why protecting your attention is not a small habit. It is a form of self-respect. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. Where your energy goes, your life begins to move. If you constantly focus on what other people are doing, saying, thinking, or expecting from you, you leave very little attention for your own growth. You may have goals, but you cannot build them with a scattered mind. You may have dreams, but you cannot move toward them while constantly being pulled into other people's worlds. Think about how easily one person can change your entire day. Someone sends you a negative message and suddenly you cannot concentrate. Someone criticizes you and you spend hours thinking about their words. Someone ignores you and your mind begins creating stories. Someone disagrees with you and suddenly you feel the need to prove yourself. Nothing physical has happened to you, yet your inner world has been completely disturbed. This is what happens when you give other people control over your attention. The goal is not to become cold. The goal is not to stop caring about people. The goal is to become selective about what deserves space inside your mind. Not every conversation deserves your participation. Not every opinion deserves your consideration. Not every problem deserves your involvement. Not every person deserves access to your peace. There will always be people who want your attention, because your attention gives them influence. They may provoke you, question you, criticize you, or create unnecessary drama simply because they know you will react. But when you stop reacting automatically, something changes. You begin to recognize that you do not have to attend every battle that appears in front of you. Your focus becomes stronger when your reactions become slower. Before responding, pause. Before arguing, pause. Before explaining yourself, pause. Before allowing someone's words to disturb your peace, pause. In that small space between what happens and how you respond, you discover something powerful. Choice. You can choose where your mind goes. You can choose what deserves your energy. You can choose whether a distraction becomes a moment or becomes your entire day. This is why disciplined people often appear calm. It is not because they have no problems. It is because they understand that attention must be protected. They know that every unnecessary reaction takes something from them. Every pointless argument consumes energy. Every comparison weakens concentration. Every attempt to please everyone moves them further away from themselves. Your attention should serve your purpose, not someone else's agenda. If you are working, work. If you are learning, learn. If you are resting, rest. If you are spending time with someone you love, be completely present. Do not allow your mind to constantly jump from one distraction to another. The world will always compete for your attention. Notifications will appear. People will speak. Opinions will come. Problems will arise. Temptations will surround you. You cannot make the world silent, but you can make your mind disciplined. And that is the difference. You do not need to control everything around you to control yourself. You simply need to become conscious of what you allow into your mind. Every morning, remind yourself that your attention has value. Do not spend it carelessly. Do not give it because you only want a reaction. Do not waste it proving your worth to people who refuse to see it. Do not sacrifice hours of your life thinking about something that will not matter tomorrow. Return to your purpose. Return to your breath. Return to the present moment. Return to the work in front of you. Every time you bring your attention back, you are training your mind. Every time you refuse an unnecessary reaction, you are strengthening your discipline. Every time you choose your purpose over distraction, you are becoming more difficult to control. There is a certain kind of freedom that begins when you realize you do not have to react to everything that happens around you. Not every word requires an answer. Not every opinion deserves an explanation. Not every criticism needs to be defended against. Not every situation deserves your emotional energy. Yet many people live as if they must respond to everything immediately, as though silence means weakness and reaction means strength. But the opposite can often be true. When someone says something that hurts you, your first instinct may be to respond. When someone misunderstands you, you may feel the need to explain. When someone criticizes your choices, you may want to prove them wrong. When someone treats you unfairly, you may immediately want to fight back. This automatic reaction feels powerful in the moment, but it often gives another person control over your inner state. They say something, and you react. They provoke you, and you react. They become angry, and you become angry. They create chaos, and suddenly You are carrying the chaos inside yourself. This is not freedom. When your emotions can be controlled by another person's behavior, you have handed them the steering wheel of your mind. Learning not to react immediately does not mean becoming passive. It means becoming conscious. It means creating a small space between what happens and what you choose to do about it. That space may last only a few seconds, but within those seconds there is tremendous power. Pause. Breathe. Observe. Then decide. The person who can pause before reacting has already gained an advantage over their impulses. They are no longer being driven entirely by emotion. They are beginning to act from awareness. Imagine someone insults you. You could immediately insult them back, and for a few moments, you may feel that you have defended yourself. But what has actually happened? Their words entered your mind, changed your emotional state, consumed your attention, and influenced your behavior. You allowed a few seconds of someone else's speech to control several minutes or even hours of your life. Why give someone that much power? Sometimes the strongest response is no response. Silence can be discipline. Walking away can be discipline. Changing the subject can be discipline. Continuing with your work can be discipline. You do not need to prove that you are strong by showing everyone that they cannot hurt you. Sometimes strength is simply refusing to participate in something that will disturb your peace. There will always be people who test your patience. There will always be misunderstandings, criticism, rejection, rude comments, and unnecessary opinions. If you react to all of them, your mind will never become still. You must learn to ask yourself one question before giving something your attention. Does this deserve my energy? If the answer is no, let it pass. Not because you are afraid, not because you are weak, but because you have something more important to protect: your peace, your focus, your direction, your future. A disciplined mind does not respond to every impulse. It chooses its battles carefully. It understands that energy is limited and attention is precious. Instead of spending the day fighting invisible battles inside the mind, it returns to what matters. This does not mean you should tolerate disrespect or remain silent when something genuinely requires action. There are moments when you must speak. There are moments when boundaries must be established. There are moments when walking away is not enough, and a clear response is necessary. But even then, respond from clarity rather than emotional chaos. There is a difference between responding and reacting. Reaction is immediate. Response is intentional. Reaction says, "You made me feel this way, so I must act." Response says, "I see what is happening, and I will choose what happens next." That difference can transform your life. When you stop reacting to everything, you begin to conserve your mental energy. You stop carrying conversations that ended hours ago. You stop replaying insults in your head. You stop creating imaginary arguments with people who are not even present. You stop allowing someone else's mood to become your mood. And slowly, your mind becomes quieter. In that quietness, you begin to hear yourself again. You begin to recognize your priorities. You begin to see which battles are worth fighting and which ones are simply distractions. You begin to understand that peace does not come from making everyone behave correctly. Peace comes from no longer allowing everyone to dictate how you feel. So, when the next distraction appears, do not rush. Pause. Observe. Ask yourself whether it deserves your energy. Then choose your response carefully, because every time you refuse to react automatically, you are taking your mind back into your own hands. Your environment will always contain distractions. There will always be noise, opinions, interruptions, unexpected problems, difficult people, and situations that demand your attention. You cannot create a life where everything around you is perfectly calm. If you wait for the world to become quiet before you learn to focus, you may spend your entire life waiting. The real work begins when you understand that your greatest responsibility is not controlling everything outside of you, but learning to guide what happens inside your mind. Many people believe they will become focused when their circumstances improve. They tell themselves that when life becomes easier, they will concentrate. When people stop bothering them, they will become peaceful. When they have more time, they will become disciplined. When everything is organized, they will finally work toward their goals. But this gives the outside world too much authority over their inner state. A strong mind learns to create direction even when the environment is imperfect. You may be surrounded by noise and still remain focused. You may be misunderstood and still remain calm. You may receive criticism and still continue your work. You may experience disappointment and still remember your purpose. This is what it means to master your mind before your environment. Your mind is constantly receiving information. Every sound, message, conversation, image, and opinion can become an invitation for your attention. But an invitation does not mean you have to accept it. You can notice something without following it. You can hear an opinion without carrying it. You can experience an emotion without allowing that emotion to control your next decision. This is where awareness becomes powerful. Imagine sitting down to work on something important. Your phone vibrates. Immediately, your mind wants to check it. You open one message, then another. You see something interesting. You follow another link. Suddenly, 20 minutes have disappeared. The phone did not force you to lose 20 minutes. Your attention followed the invitation. The same thing happens with people. Someone makes a comment, and your mind follows it. Someone criticizes you, and your mind follows it. Someone creates drama, and your mind follows it. Someone succeeds, and your mind follows comparison. Someone fails, and your mind follows judgment. The external event may last a few seconds, but your mind can continue the experience for hours. This is why controlling your mind is more important than controlling your environment. You cannot prevent every distraction from appearing, but you can train yourself not to chase every distraction that appears. When your attention wanders, bring it back. When your emotions rise, breathe. When your thoughts become scattered, return to the present moment. When someone tries to pull you into unnecessary conflict, remember your purpose. The returning is the training. You do not become focused because your mind never wanders. You become focused because you learn how to bring your mind back whenever it wanders. This is an important distinction. Do not become frustrated every time you lose focus. Instead, notice it. Awareness comes first. Then comes the choice to return. If you are reading and your mind drifts, return to the words. If you are working and become distracted, return to the task. If you are meditating and thoughts appear, return to the breath. If you are pursuing a goal and doubt appears, return to your reason. Every return strengthens your ability to direct yourself. Eventually, you begin to understand that focus is not something you find. It is something you practice. Your environment may still be noisy, but you become less dependent on silence. People may still have opinions, but you become less dependent on approval. Problems may still appear, but you become less dependent on perfect circumstances. You begin carrying your center with you. That is real mental strength. It is easy to feel peaceful when nobody challenges you. It is easy to focus when there are no distractions. It is easy to be disciplined when everything is going according to plan. But the deeper test comes when the environment becomes difficult and you still remain connected to what matters. This is where your mind becomes stronger. Instead of asking, how can I make everyone stop distracting me? Ask, how can I become less distractible? Instead of asking, how can I control everything around me? Ask, how can I control myself? Instead of waiting for perfect conditions, begin practicing under imperfect conditions. Protect your attention. Choose your priorities. Reduce unnecessary stimulation. Dedicate boundaries. Give yourself moments of silence. And most importantly, learn to observe your thoughts without automatically obeying them. Your mind will offer you thousands of thoughts every day. You do not need to follow everyone. Some thoughts are useful, some are fear, some are memories, some are assumptions, some are simply noise. You are the one who chooses which thoughts deserve your attention. When you understand this, the world begins to lose some of its power over you. You stop trying to control every person, every situation, and every outcome. Instead, you focus on the one place where your influence is strongest, your own mind. And when you can remain centered within yourself, even while the world around you is moving, changing, and making noise, you discover a deeper form of freedom. The freedom to choose where your attention goes and what kind of person you will be in the middle of it all. There is a moment in life when you realize that you cannot say yes to everything and still remain true to yourself. Every yes has a cost. Every time you agree to something, you are giving away a portion of your time, energy, attention, or peace. This is why learning to say no is not about becoming selfish. It is about understanding the value of your own life and becoming intentional about where you place your energy. Many people struggle to say no because they are afraid of disappointing others. They worry about being judged, rejected, misunderstood, or called selfish. So they agree when they do not want to agree. They attend things they do not want to attend. They continue conversations they do not need. They accept responsibilities that were never theirs. They become available to everyone while becoming unavailable to themselves. Slowly, resentment begins to grow, not because they do not care about people, but because they have abandoned their own boundaries too many times. A simple no can protect hours of your life. A simple no can protect your concentration. A simple no can protect your peace. A simple no can keep you moving towards something that matters. You do not need to explain every no with a long story. Sometimes I cannot do that is enough. Sometimes I am focusing on something important right now is enough. Sometimes silence itself is an answer. When you understand your priorities, saying no becomes easier. If you know where you are going, you become less willing to follow every direction someone else gives you. Imagine you have an important goal. You have decided to spend the next few months improving yourself, building a skill, becoming healthier, or creating something meaningful. Then people begin asking for your time. One wants to talk for hours about unnecessary drama. Another wants you to join something that does not serve your purpose. Someone else expects you to be constantly available. If you say yes to all of them, what happens to your goal? It does not disappear. It simply receives less of you. This is the hidden cost of distraction. Sometimes distraction does not look like wasting time. Sometimes it looks like being helpful to everyone except yourself. You must learn that being available does not make you valuable. Your value does not come from how many people can access you at any moment. Your value comes from the person you are becoming and the principles you choose to live by. Saying no also teaches other people how to treat you. If you constantly allow interruptions, some people will assume your time is always available. If you constantly accept disrespect, some people may believe there are no consequences for crossing your boundaries. If you constantly abandon your priorities, whenever someone asks for your attention, people will naturally expect you to continue doing it. Boundaries communicate clarity. They say, "This matters to me." They say, "My time has value." They say, "I care about others, but I also take responsibility for myself." You do not have to become harsh. You can say no with calmness. You can remain respectful without becoming available for everything. You can care about someone without allowing them to consume your entire emotional space. This is where discipline becomes visible. Discipline is not only waking up early or working hard. Discipline is also knowing what not to do. It is knowing which conversations to avoid, which invitations to decline, which habits to remove, and which distractions to leave behind. Every no creates space for a yes that matters. When you say no to unnecessary drama, you say yes to peace. When you say no to constant entertainment, you say yes to concentration. When you say no to people-pleasing, you say yes to authenticity. When you say no to distractions, you say yes to your future. This does not mean you should reject everyone around you. Human beings need connection, friendship, support, and community. The lesson is not isolation. The lesson is intentionality. Choose where you give yourself. Choose who receives your attention. Choose what deserves your time. And understand that some people may not like your boundaries. That is okay. If someone only respects you when you say yes, they may not be respecting you at all. They may simply be benefiting from your lack of boundaries. Do not be afraid of being misunderstood because you are protecting your priorities. You are not required to attend every argument. You are not required to answer every message immediately. You are not required to solve every problem. You are not required to make everyone happy. You are allowed to have a life that requires your attention. The more clearly you understand your purpose, the more naturally you will begin to say no to what pulls you away from it. And when you stop feeling guilty for protecting your focus, you begin to experience something powerful. Your time starts belonging to you again. True mental strength is not the ability to live in a world without distractions. It is the ability to remain focused even when distractions are everywhere. You cannot control what people say, what happens around you, what messages arrive, what problems appear, or what unexpected situations enter your day. But you can train yourself to become someone who does not lose direction every time the outside world becomes noisy. Most people think focus means concentrating when everything is perfect. No interruptions, no problems, no difficult conversations, no notifications, no unexpected events. But that kind of focus is fragile because it depends entirely on circumstances. The moment something changes, concentration disappears. A stronger kind of focus comes from within. It begins when you stop expecting the world to protect your attention for you. People will interrupt you. Some will demand your time. Some will try to pull you into arguments. Some will bring unnecessary drama. Others may criticize your choices simply because they do not understand them. If your mind follows every person who calls for your attention, you will never have enough energy for your own life. Becoming difficult to distract means learning to recognize the difference between what is urgent and what is merely loud. Not everything that demands attention deserves attention. A notification may be loud, but it may not be important. A person's anger may be intense, but it may not be your responsibility. Someone's opinion may be confident, but that does not make it true. A problem may appear suddenly, but the does not mean you must abandon everything else immediately. The disciplined mind learns to pause and evaluate. Ask yourself, does this require me now? If the answer is no, return to what you were doing. This simple habit can transform your relationship with distraction. Instead of allowing every interruption to become a change of direction, you begin choosing your direction consciously. Your focus becomes a decision. You decide what matters before the world tells you what should matter. This requires knowing your priorities. If you do not know what you are working toward, every distraction will look important. When your purpose is unclear, other people's priorities easily become your priorities. You start living according to messages, trends, opinions, expectations, and demands. But when your purpose becomes clear, your mind becomes selective. You begin saying, "That is interesting, but it is not necessary for me." You begin saying, "That person is upset, but I do not need to become upset." You begin saying, "I could respond, but I do not need to." This is not weakness, this is control. The strongest person in the room is not always the loudest. Sometimes it is the person who can remain completely calm while everyone else is reacting. They can hear criticism without immediately becoming defensive. They can experience pressure without losing their direction. They can encounter temptation without abandoning their principles. That kind of strength is built through repetition. Every time you resist checking your phone unnecessarily, you strengthen attention. Every time you refuse to join pointless gossip, you strengthen discipline. Every time you walk away from an unnecessary argument, you strengthen emotional control. Every time you return to your work after being interrupted, you strengthen focus. Small moments create a strong mind. You do not need to become perfect. Your mind will wander. You will become distracted. You will sometimes react emotionally. That is part of being human. The goal is not to eliminate every distraction or every imperfect reaction. The goal is to shorten the distance between losing your focus and returning to it. Notice, return, continue. That is the practice. Eventually, people may still try to distract you, but their ability to move you becomes smaller. Their words may reach your ears, but they no longer automatically control your mind. Their opinions may exist, but they no longer determine your direction. You become rooted. And when you become rooted, you no longer need the world to be quiet before you can hear yourself. You can work while others are talking. You can remain calm while others are emotional. You can stay focused while others are distracted. You can continue walking while others are trying to pull you into different directions. This is the quiet power of self-mastery. Your life becomes less about controlling other people and more about controlling your own attention. You stop wasting energy trying to convince everyone to understand you. You stop chasing every distraction that appears. You stop allowing temporary emotions to make permanent decisions. You become selective. You become intentional. You become difficult to manipulate because you are no longer easily moved. And perhaps the greatest sign of this strength is that you no longer feel the need to prove it. You simply keep going. You return to your purpose. You protect your peace. You control your attention. And while the world continues to make noise around you, your mind remains steady enough to remember exactly where you are going.